A boy notices a strange thing. There are 16 airplanes on the sky out of nowhere. Leave 16 white traces behind. With loud noises. No one knows what is going on. In the middle of the sky there is a mysterious light point. Seems like all 16 airplanes are running away from it. They all know that. That is a comet falling down to Earth. The news says this comet will not directly damage the Earth. Most of the pieces will be burnt in the ozone layer. Some pieces will fall on the ocean and that's it. But not long after the phone of the mentioned John suddenly keeps ringing annoyingly. He takes it out to see. The caller is United States Department Homeland Security. John takes the call and hears a robot voice. Say his and his family's name. The robot says that his family is chosen to go to the emergency shelter. Please get ready. John looks around. No one else receives the phone call. Looks like indeed only his family is chosen. John quickly brings his son home. This time the wife invites the neighbors over to watch the news. The news says that a piece of the comet falls down to the ocean. But when the countdown ends, the ocean surface is quiet. Everyone is confused when suddenly the room shakes strongly. John runs out of the house. Right then sees a flock of bird fly to a faraway place. When he comes inside the house, the crash scenario is aired on the TV. A broken piece of the comet as big as a football stadium doesn't falls into the ocean, but crashes into Florida where there is a lot of people. Creates a huge radiant spread on over 2,000 kilometers. Immediately the city becomes a crematory. Everyone freaks out. This time John receives another call from Homeland Security Department. Before 9:45 p.m., his family have to hurry up to an Air Force base. Enter the emergency shelter by scanning the QR code on the phone. The neighbors all ask why they don't receive that. John doesn't know the answer. Everyone quickly comes back home. John doesn't have time to think much. He and his wife hurriedly pack their stuff. Bring along the insulin shots that Nathan needs and goes out. It's not sunset yet, but the sky is so dark. He looks up and sees a huge tornado cloud. Covers the sun and burns the sky. John drives away. The neighbor stops him, asks if he can save them. Because the news warns that in the next 48 hours, the biggest broken piece of the comet will crash into the Earth. John has no other way. He himself doesn't fully understand the situation. A woman runs out and shouts, stops his car. Cries and begs him to take her daughter. He chases her away. She doesn't go, keeps knocking on his car. Both of the children cry out loud. John cruelly presses the gas and drives away. Allison asks why he has to do that. He says that the phone call said clearly that only 3 of them are allowed in the shelter. The city has a terrible traffic jam throughout 10 kilometers. They arrives at the Air Force base at 9 p.m. Unexpectedly the traffic jam is even worse here. Everyone gets off the car, runs to the base. Are they all chosen? No, the chosen one is the one with special jobs. After the end of the world, they are the one who can help to rebuild the humanity. For example, doctors, biologists, agriculturalists. The reason why this family is chosen is because John is a structural engineer. The end of the world is coming. Everyone is terrified, raises their hands, begs the US Army to save their lives. But the soldiers guard the gate of the Air Force base. Only allow the chosen one to enter. John desperately jostles to the front. Shows the QR code that the security department sent him, scan and pass. Finally he can bring his family in. But they only just pass the first gate. They don't find it safe. The whole family have to put on identification bracelets to identify themselves as the chosen survival. The soldiers request them to throw away the belongings. A family can only bring a small bag of belongings. They can only follow. Right then, John realizes that the insulin shots of the son is in the car. The boarding time is in 15 minutes. He tells Allison to go on the plane with Nathan first. He will go out to get the medication. Allison is really worried, wants to ask the soldiers about the situation. She shouldn't have asked. The soldiers change their faces upon hearing that the child has diabetes. Immediately bring them over to their boss. Turns out people with chronic disease are not allowed on the plane. They have to make sure that the chosen ones have the highest survival rate. The child is kicked out. Allison is terrified. She tries to beg if her family member can't go on. What will she do? The boss says my family members are all not chosen. Finally Allison and Nathan are kicked out. This time all the cell phones lose signals. She can't contact John. John finds the medication but can't find his wife and son anywhere. He is driven crazy. At that time the people outside who are not chosen are more and more provoked. Not long after, there is a riot. They break through the guard, swoop in the airport. Some people even bring guns along and shoot the soldiers. They shoot the soldier who is refueling the airplane. The fuel leaks. When the bullet interacts with the fuel, the family are not on the plane. Looks like they are accidentally lucky. John runs out of the base. He finds out the note that Allison leaves in the car. Tells him to reunite with her father. Why doesn't she wait for him in the car? Turns out the child urgently needs insulin. She takes Nathan to go find the medication. Now she is in the supermarket. Everyone is stealing things in the store. She is struggling to find insulin. A lot of people with guns stomp in the supermarket. Start to kill people like crazy. Allison is terrified. She protects the son and carefully moves forward. A guy sees her. Luckily he doesn't shoot her but tells her to go quickly. They are able to get out of the supermarket. Ask a couple to give them a lift. The couple agrees. At first the couple are polite, even feed Nathan. But when they find out about the bracelet of her knowing that it belongs to the Air Force Base. It is the pass to enter the emergency shelter. They show the evil side. The driver suddenly stops the car. He drags her out of the car and takes away her bracelet. After that takes Nathan away with him. Turns out they do not have kids and wants to steal a child to improve their survival rate. Allison shouts and chases after them. She wants a lift but no one wants to stop. She runs in tears. When it's the end of the world, humans lost their humaneness. She walks a long way. Finally a good person stops the car, gives her a lift to the airport. The couple that take the boy away don't have a good ending. Their identities are revealed by the soldiers then are taken away. Nathan is taken to the medical camp by a kind soldier. When Allison arrives at the airport, under the instruction of the soldier she finds Nathan. They hug each other tightly and sob. After that the kind nurse doesn't only provide them enough medication, but also lets them go on the army van. They pass by her father's house. It is the next day when they arrive. John is already here to wait for her. Finally the family reunite. The strange thing is there is bloody injuries on John's face. No one knows what he went through. He doesn't say a word about it. After that they still have to run away from the apocalypse. That is the last day of humanity. The sky is not blue anymore, but turns into such a scary red color. They can't stay. They decide to go to a place near the airport to see if anyone agrees to drive them to Greenland, because they hear that the emergency shelter of America are all built there. But Dale does not have an intention to go with them. He says that his wife passed away in this room, so he also wants to spend the rest of his life here. Allison can't persuade him, can only let him stay there. If a broken piece as big as a football stadium of the comet crashes into the Earth, the power will be as big as a nuclear bomb. The radiant will spread on thousands kilometers, create earthquake, heat waves. If a piece of comet that is 14 kilometers big crashes into the Earth, it will destroy a whole continent, create an earthquake on the whole world. A tide of more than 300 meters and wind with the temperature of more than 900 degrees. The wind speed will be faster than the sound speed. All the continents will be burnt in half an hour. Finally 75% of creatures will be extincted. America builds the last shelter in Greenland. The whole family decide to go to the airport. There is not even one open spot in the traffic jam. This time the warning bell rings. There will be a small amount of comet pieces fall down to North New York. The couple look at each other. Isn't that their place? They just say that. When the pieces start to fall down, a lot of cars are shattered. There are dead people. John quickly turns the car back. The comet falls down more and more rapidly. It can't be predicted where it falls or when it stops. Like the god is punishing humans. John drives into the forest, finally finds a bridge and hides under it. The comet stops when it's sunset. They are exhausted and goes out. No one survives out there. They can only see blood stains. Few hours later they arrive at the airport. No one guards this place anymore. They drive inside. The plane is not on the runway anymore. Hold up, the last plane is preparing to take off. John decisively presses the gas in the plane's direction. Eventually forces the plane to stop. The pilot is so mad, John begs him to let them on. He says that the plane is overload already. John asks if it's okay for his wife and son only. The pilot agrees but Allison disagrees. After a while of arguing, it softens the pilot's heart. He lets the whole family on. The three of them squeeze in the cramped plane. Sleep in horror. When they wake up it's already morning. The plane arrives at Greenland. This place still has the color of green and blue. Even has a ice river. Everything is so peaceful. Suddenly the plane is shaken up. There is red light outside. The plane starts to lose balance, strongly shakes up. Both of the wings have problems. The pilot tries every way he can to control the plane. It eventually falls down to the river, hits the ice river and stops. People runs away from the death. When John goes find the two pilots, they are majorly injured. One of them is dying and says go away. Then he stops breathing. The biggest broken piece of the comet will fall down in the air. People runs to the underground shelter. It's all dust in the atmosphere. They can only cover their noses. An army van stops middle way to save them. When they arrive, the comet piece is clearly up on the sky. It will fall down in 1 minute and 20 seconds. They go into the underground shelter. When the shelter closes they runs further down, regardless of their sore legs. Finally arrive at the actual shelter. It is about to hit. The family hug each other tightly. When the countdown starts, their life flash through in front of their eyes. The Earth is now rubble. Sydney, London, Paris, Canada are all dust. Only 0.9 months later, the dust fades away. The protected gate is opened. People in the shelter looks up at the sky one more time. The scene in front of them is horrified. Greenland is no longer green. Nothing left. Everyone